Hey guys, it's TheFrXion here at Tiger Tank 12. However you call me, I don't really care. Welcome back to World of Tanks, where we are today taking a look at the BZ-166, which is the standard tier 8 Chinese heavy tank that is coming in the upcoming patch for, well, probably January or February. And yes, this tank has the rocket-propelled boosters, and it also has the bigger gun. So it now has a whopping 122mm gun with a reload time of 13.5 seconds. Now, generally speaking, that actually doesn't sound too bad for a heavy tank with a 122mm gun at tier 8, 13.5 seconds. Still, we're going to have AP shells, we're going to have heat shells, and we're going to have high explosive shells. So it's not going to be the gun that will have only high explosives available as the tier 9 and the premium tier 8 and the tier 10 have. So you'll still have to fire AP. First, the standard AP shell has 221mm of penetration, which is actually pretty good. For a 122mm gun, it's maybe not that great, but considering you're a tier 8 vehicle, having 221mm of penetration is quite decent. And the premium heat shells have 270mm of penetration, which at tier 8 is pretty impressive as well for a heavy tank. Yeah, 420 is the alpha damage that you do, the 550 with the high explosive shell, the third shell. So yeah, it's going to be another basic vehicle with quite a bit of armor. Talking about the armor, we can talk about the fact that the vehicle now has 140mm of armor at the front of the hull, 100 on the side, and 50 at the rear. So it's very well armored, and I think it's also very nicely angled, so it might be very tough to go through this tank from the front if you do not have a shot at the lower plate. The lower plate does seem to be quite large though, but it's also kind of more rounded than flat, so we'll have to figure out how to take out these vehicles. It has 300mm of turret armor, which is, well, quite fantastic for the vehicle. 300mm of turret armor is a lot. 110 on the side, so it's also heavily armored on the side of the turret, 70 at the back. And I think there is a cupola which might just be a bit of a weak spot, but I'm not entirely sure if it's a large cupola or if it might just be one of those cupolas that the ST1 has, for example, which is really difficult to go through. But either way, I think with premium heat shells, you should be able to deal with it if you're able to do so, or if you're able to shoot it. View range is still atrocious, still only 350 meters with this vehicle, so doesn't get much better from the tier 7. So is the mobility. 35 kph top speed, 13 in reverse. With the booster, you get 53 kph full top speed and 1 kph in reverse. Power is 700. You still have the same amount of horsepower on the vehicle and the same with the boosters enabled. So it's not going to be really fast without the booster, but you have 4 charges instead of 3 of them. It's still going to be quite nice if you can use the charges to get yourself into a position, but afterwards you're kind of on on dry ground when you have to get to another position. You've used up all your charges, so you kind of have to be a bit strategic with the resource management, in this case the charges of boosts. Hull traverse with 28 degrees per second is still not that great. Turret traverse actually gets worse, 24 degrees per second, so it will turn very, very slowly. And it still has those 10 degrees of gun depression, so it goes against the Chinese tech tree. It has gun depression, which the Chinese tanks just really did not have prior. Especially when you play the medium tanks, they rarely have any gun depression. The aim time, dispersion are both terrible. 3 seconds for the aim time, dispersion at 100 meters is at 0.42. That is the same as the BZ-176 at the moment, so the tank is incredibly inaccurate. So it's meant to be a close range fighter again, in your face kind of type on a ridgeline, so it's going to be a bit annoying because we certainly didn't need any more hull down vehicles. I think that was the last thing this game needs, but looks like it's another line that completely is based on this hull down kind of gameplay, and it also has these boosters to get them into place quite quickly. So I think that's a bit of a bad judgment by Wargaming to go this way, in my personal opinion. Well, that's all there is. Nothing special except for the booster. Boosters are pretty cool. I think they look very cool. They might be a nice asset to the game, but I'm not really sure if the boosters are utilized in a good way with these tanks when they're already kind of broken, i.e. the 176. It's pretty annoying at the moment, and I hope that this entire line is not going to be majorly like a pain in the ass for us, but I think it's going to be a pain in the butt, and unfortunately that's just the way Wargaming have kind of made these vehicles, because you have to kind of use gold to be able to even have a chance on penning the turret. Ah, damn. The joy of playing World of Tanks, I guess. So yeah, as always, tell me what you think of the BZ-166, and tell me what you think of the Chinese heavy tank line. I'm, at this point, not really convinced by the fact that they might be good, but who knows? Maybe they'll fit nicely into the game.